Yo, hey, this shit easy, nigga. Hey, all I'm talking about, nigga, I'm still out here trying to get it.
Contender Regime Boxing checking back in with y'all, man. What's going on? It's fight week, man. It is fight week. We have Undisputed, the rematch, highly anticipated. JERMELL CHARLO versus Brian Castano. Time to finally see who is the best fighter at 154. JERMELL CHARLO has pretty much run through the entire division, been taking on top competition after top competition, beating top guys in devastating fashion. Seems like his performances and his showcases has risen when the actual competition, the level of competition stepped up. Seemed like JERMELL CHARLO raised his game. Brian Castano, this guy is finally getting an opportunity. Don't have as many fights as Charlo, but I think he peaking at the right time and, coming on the scene and getting these elite opportunities at the right time, because I just feel like, Brian Castano was a very good amateur, has an extensive amateur background. This guy's Argentina fighter, very skilled, very tough, high work rate, strong, great chin, just a very determined fighter. And he got really good skill set too. A lot of people slept on Brian Castano going into this fight. I had JERMELL CHARLO winning going into the fight, but I tried to really put emphasis on how good Brian Castano was and the difficulty that he could pose to JERMELL CHARLO. And, he went out there and put on a dominant performance versus Patrick Teixeira to win the WBO belt and put himself right in position to fight JERMELL CHARLO for Undisputed. The first match was fireworks. I was kind of disappointed in JERMELL CHARLO's performance. I thought he was a little too passive, a little too timid. I thought he did enough to get it a draw. I didn't really see either fighter dominant enough for them to grant Undisputed one way or the other. I thought JERMELL CHARLO pulled out the first couple of rounds. Then Brian Castano went on a run. And then towards the end of the fight, JERMELL CHARLO kind of, he hurt Brian Castano multiple times in that fight really bad. And, he pulled it out in the championship rounds, man, to at least get himself the draw. Brian Castano had a really good game plan. He would, kind of take the first couple of minutes or the first minute and a half of each round and just kind of bide his time and, stay within a certain distance to where he can keep JERMELL CHARLO thinking and keep him uncomfortable. And then towards the end of each round, he'll start pressing the gas to, conserve energy and then be able to use that energy that he was saving at the end of each round just so he can try to win the judges over, by work rate, pressure, throwing punches, forcing JERMELL CHARLO to the ropes. I mean, I even felt like JERMELL CHARLO was going to the ropes voluntarily, which was terrible. JERMELL CHARLO really didn't listen to Derrick James much at all, if at all, in that fight. Derrick James was telling him, man, use the jab. You just start off with that jab every time and build off of that. Work off of that jab. Because I felt like JERMELL CHARLO literally left at minimum 3 or 4 rounds on the table. 3 or 4 rounds on the table where all he had to do was just pump the jab out and he could have took those rounds. Because Brian Castano was taking the first half of each round, not really throwing punches. He will wait to the end of each round and start getting busy. And JERMELL CHARLO just sitting there at mid-range just looking at him, like waiting for the perfect shot, because he hurt Brian Castano early in the fight. I think it was the first or the second round, hurt him real bad. And, JERMELL CHARLO, he wasn't as active as I thought he should have been. He didn't use the jab, and JERMELL CHARLO has a really good jab, man. You know, when he uses it, it's an educated jab, and it's a consistent jab. You know, very strong, very stiff, and very accurate, and he can use it in multiple ways. But he really didn't incorporate the jab in that particular fight. And I thought that was a bad move. I thought that's why he looked so pedestrian in that fight. Brian Castano gotta come to you. He don't have no choice but to come forward and come to you. Use your jab and establish your distance and your dominance. Establish your range. And you can set everything up off of that. JERMELL CHARLO is a really good counterpuncher. You can set everything up off of that. You know, but for whatever reason, JERMELL CHARLO wouldn't listen. And I think it might have, I don't know, this just, you know, me from the outside looking in, just speculation. He did bring in Juan Guzman. I thought that was, I didn't think that was a good move. You know, you have a master boxing coach, a teacher, you know, more than just a coach or a trainer. He's a teacher of the sweet science, Derrick James. Ain't no need to bring in no extra guys. You even see JERMELL CHARLO right now. He getting it in with Derrick James. He has an elite trainer with him, Ronnie Shields. But even he, you know, understands that, hey man, there's some things that I can get from Derrick James. And I mean, if you seen, you know, the All Access when JERMELL and Jamal put on their pay-per-view doubleheader when Mal fought Sergey Devenchenko and Mel fought Jason Rosario, behind the scenes when they was in the bubble, you know, on the All Access, man, you seen the relationship that Derrick James has with not just JERMELL CHARLO, but with Jamal as well. Like some big brother, little brother type shit. You know what I'm saying? So you can just see the respect there, and Jamal realizes the type of game that you can get from a guy like Derrick James. You look at the things that he's accomplished in such a short period of time. You know, so is very advantageous and very beneficial for JERMELL CHARLO if he would take heed to the things that Derrick James is telling him in that ring. You got to take advantage of that. You got guys like Canelo Alvarez. You see, you know, Eddie Reynoso ain't telling him shit in the corner. Ain't giving him no type of game. When you got somebody like, and you always heard Earl Spence, he always said, "What I'm gonna listen to my coach." You know, I'm gonna listen to my coach. You got to be coachable. And I think that's going to have to be the key in this fight. All JERMELL CHARLO got to do is be JERMELL CHARLO and follow the game plan. Listen to Derrick James. I think Brian Castano fought probably the best fight that we going to see him fight in that particular matchup. Brian Castano did everything that I thought he could have done to get the victory in this particular style matchup. You know, he used his you know, his work rate at the end of rounds. I thought that was a brilliant game plan to conserve energy at the beginning of rounds and then, you know, try to get active at the end of each round to win over the judges. You know, he made CHARLO respect his punch. You know, he got on the inside with CHARLO and made him dirty, made him uncomfortable. And I think Brian Castano just needs to do the same thing he did in the first fight and do that in the second fight. The difference is I think JERMELL CHARLO actually has another gear and another level that he can take this fight to. I really don't know if Brian Castano has another level because he performed so well in the first fight. But JERMELL CHARLO, I think if he listens to Derrick James, he establishes the jab, I think he can win this fight comfortably on the cards, if not by stoppage late. He might even catch Brian Castano early in the fight with something crazy with his counterpunching ability set up by the jab and using Brian Castano's aggression against him. I think in this fight, we might even see a more aggressive Brian Castano because he realized how much his activity and his ability to get on the inside worked so well for him in the first fight. I think he might even up that. You know what I'm saying? Up the activity. And we'll see what his gas tank is like later on in the fights if it do go, you know, to the late rounds. But my prediction, I am taking JERMELL CHARLO by unanimous decision. I think JERMELL CHARLO is gonna come out and box smart in this fight. I know he said he want to knock him out, and JERMELL CHARLO has been phenomenal in a rematch game. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't be surprised if he go out there and do just what he said he gonna do. However, I see Brian Castano having a solid chin, being able to take a shot from JERMELL CHARLO. He might even go down, but I think he gets up. JERMELL CHARLO is a really good finisher, a fantastic finisher. You know, so if he hurt him bad enough, I think he can stop him. It could be a one-punch knockout type of deal. JERMELL CHARLO does have that type of power, so don't rule out a knockout. But I see JERMELL CHARLO using that stick, boxing that mid-range, taking advantage of the lull in action in the beginning of rounds and stealing those rounds. And I think, you know, he'll put enough rounds in the bag. I see JERMELL CHARLO winning this 8-4. You know what I'm saying? It could be 7-5. It could be another close one. You know, but I think JERMELL CHARLO wins this fight 8-4, maybe even 9-3, and don't be surprised by a knockout. You know, Brian Castano can win this fight. But I think in order for him to win this fight, his gas tank gonna have to be next level. He ain't gonna be able to just fight half the rounds. You know what I'm saying? He gonna have to throw punch after punch after punch. He gonna have to be extremely active in order to take. I don't think he knocks JERMELL CHARLO out. I just don't see that. JERMELL CHARLO got a really good chin, solid chin, man, and I think he'll respect JERMELL CHARLO's power too much to just go in there, you know, going crazy trying to get him up out of there. I think he'll fight in spurts like he did in the first fight, and that's gonna end up getting him the L because he's gonna see a more, you know, mentally aware, a more aggressive JERMELL CHARLO. And when I say aggressive, I ain't talking about just going for the KO. I mean, he ain't gonna just be passive and just waiting on Brian Castano and then, you know, willingly backing up to the ropes. I think you'll see JERMELL CHARLO stand his ground in this fight, use a jab, keep the fight in the middle of the ring, use footwork, circle him, just like how he fought Jason Rosario. And I think you will see JERMELL CHARLO get a unanimous decision, convincing, comfortable, dominant victory. And JERMELL CHARLO will be the first undisputed champion at 154 pounds in a 4-belt era. An amazing feat. And, you know, continue to climb up the pound-for-pound list. I will be dropping the new pound-for-pound list, the new official Contender Regime boxing pound-for-pound list. I'm going to drop that after Devin Haney and George Kambosos fight because that's an extremely meaningful fight, and it's undisputed. And y'all know how we feel about undisputed over here, so I want to see how that shakes up before I put out the next official pound-for-pound list. But I'm pretty sure y'all can only imagine that motherfucker gonna be shook up. You know what I'm saying? Because a whole lot of things done took place. But, you know, we got, you know, it's a lot of good boxing coming up, man. But it's fight week, man. JERMELL CHARLO, Brian Castano 2. The rematch, you got Jerron Boots Ennis versus Custio Clayton on the undercard. Oh, man, it's going to be a phenomenal night of boxing this week, this Saturday on Showtime. It's free if you got the app, no pay-per-view. So, y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Who y'all got winning this fight and why? Break it down for me, man. Contender Regime boxing. I'll holler at y'all boys, man.